Well, everybody knows the Zimbabwean voice now, so that's for sure. And it's a beautiful voice, that one. One of unity, one of togetherness, one of peace, one of love, you know. That's the way forward. Oga, Oga.
No, but Mukudzei, King Kandoro, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate you taking a moment of, from fatherhood and family life to discuss. So I appreciate you taking the time. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Very excited to be here. Thank you for having me. We just love talking.
Yeah.
So always excited to share. You know, if it's about Zimbabwe, if it's about comedy, the career, and yeah, I'm always excited to connect with my people whenever I can.
Phenomenal. Now, we appreciate it. To start off, I was just, of course, I've watched it prior. I'd watched conspiracy theories before. I'd watched Prodigal Son, a few times now. And there's so many different things I'd like to take from it. First of all, like the work was great. And I feel like between each, I can see the step up every time you release a new piece of, content. I think that's, and I can see how intentional you've been. So that's great. But before I go into the work, how are you doing? How is comedy and as you do prep for season 2 propaganda, how's everything going?
I don't know, maybe it's just me, but like you said, I've always tried to, I have people that I look up to. So that comes with a lot of pressure. I don't know if people can hear, but my son is crying somewhere in this house. I don't know if people, but he wants
But
to
if they
come
do,
in here.
full disclosure, cool.
Yeah, full disclosure. He's crying because he wants to come inside and he doesn't understand why he's not being let inside because this is his free reign room. So he doesn't understand why he's been. But
my house,
just in
my
case,
room.
this is it's his house. But yeah, so because of the people that I look up to, I always try to give some level of effort, to anything that I do, so that it's even to somebody who wants to dismiss it, you can't dismiss it offhand because you, at the very least, even if you disagree with the work, you're like, I can see the effort that was put into this.
Right. Right.
So you can't dismiss it offhand. You can say, I'm not feeling like it's not making me laugh, but I can see the effort. I can see. So I always try to go, challenge myself. Propaganda season 1 exceeded the expectations that we had, in terms of like just connecting those matters, because I think there is a huge condescending attitude towards young people that says, oh, you guys don't care enough, or you guys care about ABCD. Exactly. So propaganda really, season 1 really came from that place of frustration, like, what are you talking about? So to see that attitude vindicated in the comments, to see, like, it's not just like, if you go, the thing that I'm proud of the most about propaganda is that you're not going to, if you go into the comments, you're not going to see laughing emojis.
No,
you won't find laughing. You'll find somebody talking about their personal, like, oh snap, like the show is funny, but for the purpose of making it less depressing than it is. It's not. So that's one of the things that we did to say, we're not going to sacrifice an important issue to make the show funny. So yeah, propaganda, we actually started filming this past weekend. It's looking good. It's looking scary. We are doubling down. So it's going to be interesting to see how that is, like the response to that. So, but I'm excited.
Thank you for that. I was watching my research. You said something along the lines of, if there's something I don't believe in or believe to be true, I'm not going to do a joke about it. Like, I'm not going to comment on that. And then this past, or for context, I'm in Washington D.C. now. I just moved here a few months ago. But I went to a, what do they call it? Like a spoken word event on Friday. I never been to like a spoken word event, and it was predominantly African American people in the audience. And I remember being like, of course, and thankfully, in this country, there's full reign freedom of speech. And I was like, if there's some of the things that were being said, like, well, if because African American people are in many ways an oppressed people. And they're speaking freely about all of these issues. I was like, about a lot of white people, you could just feel the agitation, but it was good because people could speak freely. And that's what I'm thinking about it why I think the industry has done pretty well here is because there's freedom of speech to say whatever it is that you want to do. So you said it's looking scary in terms of season 2 propaganda. And also in your comedy, you do this thing where you toe the line. You tend to toe a line intentionally, where you have to balance freedom of speech, but then also balance perspective from society and politics. How do you feel? Are you a courageous man? Do you just want to speak truth to power? Yeah.
Let me. That is a notion that I want to like just straight out the gate destroy. I'm not courageous by any means, because if I was courageous, the thing that I would say, my wife is probably the only person that knows Kuti. Like, I mean, when you see propaganda, when you see the stand-up, you're like, "Ooh, he's saying that." But like, if you see the things that I actually keep to myself, like the raw, unfiltered thoughts of what you want to say, like before you make it palatable and like, and you're like, it's that would. But the thing with it's not even like towing the line per se, but the things that I end up saying is because, one, it's either I think the joke is way funnier than the offense. Right. So even if I was to make fun of you, what I'm talking about, if you are the butt of the joke because you stole some money, and I'm doing this because I genuinely believe there is no way you're going to justify violence and look past either because I try to think like in my comedy ever, I've never gone personal. Like, you are not going to find any Kembo Mohadi jokes. Right. As much as that is a gray area, right? It's dubious enough for me to not want to go there, to like beyond the surface level, because it's more personal than it is, that it has to do with state. I mean, there is abuse of power in there, but it's not clear cut enough comparing to a case where somebody just misused their power to get a loan, or somebody just use state funds to do ABCD. So if I'm making fun of you for that and none of your weekend activities or what, right? I think it's going to be difficult for you to justify whatever evil thought that you have. And the worst thing, the I like to believe the guys that I do talk about, there is a danger in, because at this point I'm just some random guy making these jokes, right? If I get beaten up, I become the comedian that there's a there's that danger of like, so it's trying to now maneuver, but really and truly I'm not going on stage, or we're not turning the cameras and saying let's offend ABCD. Right. It's coming from a genuine place, like, oh, there's this issue, so and so committed this. So even if you are the so and so, at least appreciate that you did something. It's not just somebody coming at you for no reason, or because you belong to party X or what.
Yeah. When I listen to your stand-up, it almost like this. I was looking through all, if just all of the content you put out, it often is an undertone of, at least what I derive from it is, there's this sentiment of desired national progression. That's the one thing I see. It's like And if there's anything getting in the roadblock, I have to point at it and say, no, but that's getting in our way. We need to point out that white elephant. That's like the thing I see, you know, in your stand-up. Is that fair? Is that fair?
Yeah, it is. And it wasn't even like it wasn't even like a thing that we set out to do, to say, like, especially with propaganda, but most of these things, like comedy, generally comes from lived experiences, right? At least
Yes.
mine. So the thing that I take pride in so much in my comedy is that I've never had to come up with a joke, like, and by that I mean, there is, like, in terms of writing, there's people that would be like, that sit down and like, I need to come up with a joke. Like, what should I write? Where do I start? Okay, this joke should be funny. Most of the stuff that I talk about is really from, like, it happened in some shape or form. So it's coming from these lived experience. So the writing that I do is actually trying to say, okay, where is this going? Like how does this story, like, because, for example, in Prodigal Son, there's that story about my sisters going to smooch, and that's something that actually happened. But at the time, I wasn't thinking my ancestors. Those are things that now happen to me in hindsight. You know, that whole, you know, power cards first day when I came to that actually happened. So it's now my writing jokes is now putting these lived experiences together to formulate one cohesive. That whole prophet thing with my parents, it happened, but it didn't happen the way it happened in the story. I had to kind of like now panel-beat it to fit,
the narrative. But
so because of that, it ends up being a thing where, on some level, I'm not struggling to come up with the stuff, right? Because it's already, I just need to figure out where the story is fitting, like where it's making sense. Like, it's different from now saying, I need to make a joke about feminism. Where do I start? You know, so my writing process is almost the other way around, which ends up being
And then, and in terms of your style, who you said you have people that you look up to, you know, in the game, as it were. Who are those people?
I mean, I think it's very obvious. I think it's very obvious. Like, if you it's
of course.
I mean, even if you watch Prodigal Son, even from the way I was dressed, you know, like there was a lot of, it's in my own broke way trying to pay homage to the,
I think also very Trevor Noah-esque also, if I'm honest.
Very much.
Specifically because of like what was the show? Was it not Daywalker, but the second one that you did, Crazy Normal, where he goes traveling, comes with a renewed perspective, comes back to speak on what his new perspective is and how I tied into a Zimbabwean story.
Exactly. Oh, I must have watched Crazy Normal, like, and this is way before I even knew I wanted to do comedy. Like, it used to put me to sleep. Like, that was my background noise.
That was your
but
that was
Trevor, Trevor, Dave Chappelle, Ricky Gervais. I'm trying to think. There's Dowsy Sloan. She's a correspondent on the Daily Show. There's I like Jon Stewart, the
old Daily Show host.
And I like him on that. I like him in that format. Specifically in that format. I like man, there's these new guys, man, but like their names, it's the problem with me at this stage, right? It's there's a danger of I don't want to consume too much, right? Because it's a very dangerous line, like right now. So I like the stuff that I like. That's I rewatch that, but it's simply for the purposes of. It's almost like putting myself through class or relaxing. So, but I try not to. I try not to give myself the pressure of like watching whoever like whoever is said is hot right now, because there's a danger of saying, "Ooh, I should try to do that." Ooh, I should. And that's it's a very dangerous thing. But I try to consume as much comedy, as much satire as I possibly can. Yeah,
that's fair. Speaking of Trevor Noah, I'm going to kind of use him to kind of go back a little bit now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's blazed a trail that I knew he was big when you did Crazy Normal, but the level to which he's, I mean, I went to uni in the UK, for example, and his first tour, he did like the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland. Like there's an August, like a big Fringe festival there, and it was his first time, I think, touring doing like a UK tour, if I can call it that, and he was £5 a ticket, and there must have been like 15 of us. I was front row, 15 of us. And that was a big step to be like, Trevor's doing a show in the UK, 15 people. Wow, like this is like, even just him trying to do a show in the UK was like very bold in and of that. To see how far he's taken it now is beyond what anyone's wildest dreams, right? But I say all that to say, he's taken it very far because he had how can I say it? He had a framework through which he could build a career. So doing comedy is a comedy circuit in South Africa that he has discovered. People said you should try to do stand-up. He did that. Then of course he had I think before he did the Daily Show in South Africa, he had like this ETV show called Tonight with Trevor Noah.
Exactly.
So it's funny how like the things he was doing now, he was being trained for already in his own little ecosystem back at home, right? And then I was doing the research about your story, and I discovered a lot about how it was tough for you because you were trying to learn to get into stand-up, but then also try and set up live shows for you almost trying to build an industry while simultaneously trying to hone a craft. How difficult was that when you're coming up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I'm saying? Because you have to almost lift a whole industry.
It was ridiculous. It was. Do you know? Looking back now, it looks. Looking back now, it looks almost scenic. I don't know if that makes sense. Almost like there's almost a danger to romanticize that struggle and try to put it down as, oh, I had to go through that. No one should ever go through. No one should ever go through, because the context is I was coming from Rhodes University, where I dropped out. So my going to Rhodes was almost like, the whole family is like, we are out of here. As soon as this dude has a degree, exactly, right? As soon as, because both parents are civil servants, I'm at Rhodes on a scholarship. Like they in their mind, I was gone. So imagine coming back with some nonsense excuse about why the scholar, because I obviously didn't tell them I dropped out. I told them some nonsense explanation about scholarship is stop paying money. They obviously knew, but everyone knew they like that. What are they going to do? But like, that is the context, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is the whole Rhodes thing gave a terrible connotation as I was entering the comedy space. Because if somebody had this guy is coming from Rhodes, it gives you an impression of or wherever this guy is coming from. Oh, there must be what to do. How did he get to Rhodes to begin with? Yeah, because I came when I went, like, I'm a Mavuku boy. Chikurubi Mavuku boy, born and bred. But I go to Rhodes. Obviously, you pick up certain ways of dressing, certain ways of speaking. You pick up some twang. So now when you come back, you seem a lot more refined than the average ghetto youth, right? So
but don't get it. Don't get it twisted, though. You're saying the
right,
fact is right.
exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so to a ghetto youth who doesn't know you, who's knowing you now, they think you are visiting. So this struggle now, it made it difficult for me to enter because it was almost like, nah, he's doing this for shits and giggles. You know, this is a phase. This is a phase. He's just another rich kid who's this will dissipate whatever is. Because I was trying to be everywhere, talking to but fortunately enough, by the time I came home, because the reason I actually chose to come back home was just the calculation that it's better for me to go hungry while I'm in my parents' house, because going hungry in a foreign country, I don't know what's that like. But I had the I had the option to start my comedy career. I had actually started because I went to do a couple of shows in Cape Town. I did, you know, there were some amateur rooms that I did. I went to Johannesburg on my way to Zim. I went to Johannesburg, did at Parker's, and then I was like, yo, let me go do this home.
But how are you surviving? How are you surviving? Sorry to cut you off, but how are you surviving in because you're technically dropped out at that time? So how are you getting by? You know what I mean?
So the thing with dropping out is I dropped out while still at school. So I just wasn't attending class. Like I was the only person who knew I dropped out. Like I wasn't sitting for exams. I wasn't writing exams, and you know, when the letters started piling up, Kuti, we are not seeing you. Where you, and so it got tricky now because I actually hadn't registered for class
for uni.
For uni. So, but the whole Cape Town movement, I was surviving purely on the mercy of friends. So there are friends that I told, like, yo, bro, this is what I'm thinking. Like, oh, let me come. I have an incredible friend called William. Put me up I was in Cape Town for a month. And it was just at a guest of his, and that's my brother for life, like But so some of the things that I do now, that's when I wrote them. I was like, yo, I'm going to go to Zim. I'm going to go look for this guy. I wrote it down. I'm going to look for this guy there are these guys called Magamba Network. They seem to do that's going to be my university. I'm going to find a way to do that, because in my mind, I knew that if I connected with these guys somehow, I don't know where that belief came from, but I like somehow that could potentially change. So I knew I had to meet this guy because I had seen Zambezi news. I didn't at the time. I don't know, because there's a danger in people who end up succeeding trying to paraphrase their lives to say, oh, I didn't know. But to be honest, I don't think I knew what Magamba Network was. I just knew Magamba TV. I didn't know it was a whole civic society organization. So when I came home, I was, whenever somebody left $1 around the house, that would be my busman, because when I came back home, everybody just looked at me like, oh, you think you're clever, go on then.
Why it sounds crazy is because there's no scene. You just knew there's Magamba TV. They seem like there's something I can resonate. My spirit resonates with something that they're doing. I'm gonna go there, but there's no scene. There's no I can go to Goliath Comedy Club. I know on Tuesdays and Thursdays there's an open mic at. You almost seem crazy because there's no road to walk, really.
Bro, it was crazy. At that time, the only people that were doing comedy, but like comedy where it's just start and stop, there were these guys like Simuka Comedy was already there. And at the time, they used to perform at Book Cafe. If I tell you that August, the August that I arrived home, Book Cafe closed that December. Forever. Forever. Because so Book Cafe had become this comedy hub, this arts hub where different nights. It would be spoken word or comedy night on a Wednesday, and short films and what. So I knew in my mind, Comrade Fato, Book Cafe, I need to plug because there was Doc Vikela, there was Simba. There were these guys who were trying to make something, but it really wasn't a comedy scene. It was guys that would come do this and then go back to their day jobs, or guys that would do this and MC weddings on the weekend. It was guys that were doing this. There was no one who was doing comedy full time. Like the biggest comedian at the time was Cow Joshua Ngove, and he had like at least four or five things that he was doing. He was doing the chef thing, he was doing the book thing, he was doing
hospitality, just market. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So I think the closest person to doing comedy full time, I know he is definitely doing now. Maybe in the coming year, 2016 was Doc Vikela, but I can't speak with absolute certainty to that. So there was a 2016. I started my YouTube channel, but I really don't know where that belief. All I knew was I needed to start this thing at home. Fortunately enough, most of the things ended up working out. So I did meet Comrade Fatso. We exchanged numbers. I started sending him links whenever I put up anything on YouTube. He was like, "Oh man, you're pretty funny." And then we met at a show. You're quite funny. Let's link up, see what we can do. That's how I got my internship at Magamba. Started March 3rd of March 2017, and nothing.
Tell me something. What was it like at home? Because you know how, unfortunately, the way the setup of a lot of things is that success looks like the child that gets out, and by gets out I mean goes abroad, as we just touched on. But then I think I had a similar experience where sometimes the steps don't always pan out the way you envision, and then you end up being back at home for a period. But it's tense. But there's a really tense, hostile environment. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, whatever amounted, and it's just,
My father and I exchanged like 10 words the whole of 2015. Even the whole of 2016, like it was. Oh, and I think having an awkward situation in a small house is different. I think people need to understand when you're having an awkward situation and you have the luxury of having a house with wings, having your rooms. But like when you're living in a house without a corridor, it's very different. You're going to bump into each other, and it's going to be very, very awkward. But they had, I don't know, somehow they never chased me away from home, and I'm deeply grateful for that. And whenever they could, like my mother would sneak me a $10 a year. One time she gave me $100, and I still think about that $100 to this day, because I was convinced that the $100 that I just got, if I take this to a soccer bet and I just put my money on a show, I still think about that. But fortunately it did. That they never chased me away from home. Within I moved out from home within the year. So I think that's when they started seeing. The fortunate thing for me, right, was because of coming from Rhodes, because of those 3 years where I was almost trying to achieve something academic. It kind of wires you different, like certain things you can't. So I was very, very, very focused, like laser focused. There was no dilly-dallying for me. There was no relaxing. You know, if we are going somewhere, we're going somewhere because we're trying to do this, we're trying to
intentional.
test this.
Intentional.
It was a different. I was laser focused, so I was saving whatever little money that I had. I was trying to link up with people that I could just ask, if you are trying to do ABCD, if you could. So, you know, I started bumping into these people that, you know, we're seeing what I was thinking, you know, and fortunately enough, I was funny enough to get their attention, and they were trying to elevate me to say like, yo, bro, I signed so many contracts that never amounted to anything.
Right, but there was right.
So there was that kind of encouraging movement where somebody's like, oh, we're trying to launch this TV station. Can you, let's sign this thing where you can create this show for us. So I was like, oh, snap. That's, bro, I signed so many contracts and half of them, I doubt I even read. Like, if there was somebody who is out there with a contract of me signing my life rights away, you know, I wouldn't say, yeah, it's probably exists, because I was just, you know, every single piece of paper that's in front of you, you think, oh man, I'm out of here. And I'm talking sometimes it was big corporations. There was a time when Econet was trying to launch that Kwese thing.
Yeah,
I was one of those people that had gotten through to the pitch. We were talking disbursement terms, like, oh, your first amount is going to arrive on the what, and then, you know, you hear that, oh, Kwese has, you know, just disappeared. It doesn't exist anymore. So, but those were the things that were encouraging me to say, okay, let's keep at it. Let's keep at it. Let's keep trying. Let's keep trying. And in that time, the one thing that I always tried not to do, that I was intentionally trying not to do, was to go viral. So
why not?
Man, I've never been more afraid of anything than going viral in my life. At the time, like, it's different now, but I was convinced. At the time, I was convinced it's the worst thing that could possibly happen to me, because the calculation that I made was, I'm going to be doing this for a very long time. But there was it part of it was coming from an imposter syndrome, where I was saying, I want to know how well I'm doing. And what that means is, I'm fine with going to sleep with 2,000 followers and waking up with 2010. What I don't want is to a situation where I wake up with 10,000 followers and I don't know where they came from, because I'm not going to know how to keep those people. So if I post out this clip that I think is funny, and people follow me because they also think it's funny, I'm going to dictate how I'm growing. So there were times, like in that from 2017 to 2020, there were a lot of viral clips, but no one really knew who this. So I would have conversations with my friends, like they'll say like, oh, you need to put a tag, in your videos, put your tag, because look, there's one particular video of me walking away with a plate of meat and swat. I mean, that video went everywhere. There's people in Ghana who claim that there's people in South Africa. You know, there's a lot of political satire that went viral, you know. But at the time, what was going viral was, you know, Magamba TV, or it would be some random guy. And part of me would be like, I should have put a tag. But looking back, I'm really grateful that I didn't, because if I had gone viral, maybe I would have ended up being a TikTok comedian, you know, trying to chase that next viral. You're now chasing that viral, because the danger with that, you know, I've seen it happen, and it not like internationally, like locally, there are guys like you go viral. Say you go viral in a like you go viral, like you're going viral in that 3-month period, right? If for whatever reason nothing comes out, even if you intentionally don't post anything in the 4th month or they don't hit, apera. There's nothing more demoralizing than people saying, "Oh, you're done, you're finished." Oh, yeah. Like I've seen it happen to. There's nothing. I wish people knew the psyche of a creative. Like creatives, for the most part, we are the most confident people, but we are also the most insecure people. It takes one comment, like it's 1,000 comments on propaganda saying, "Oh my god, oh," and there will be one comment. There will be one. I think I'm better at it now, right? I think I'm better at it now, but like, man, it used to, like, there will be one comment that says, like, recently there was a guy who left a comment on my Facebook and said, "Man, our accent just makes stand-up less funny."
Now you're feeling like, wow, now do I?
But you see, that's how
it gets in your head. It gets in your head.
That's how I saw I had grown, because I laughed. I laughed and I laughed and I actually replied the guy. I was like, "Man, I don't know what level self-hate, but like, which accent makes stand-up funny?" And we ended up having, a funny back and forth with the guy. But if this was me 2 years ago, man, do you know, like, what? I don't know what would have done, but I saw it. I was like, like, what? Like, what am I supposed? Like,
I can't change. What? Should I start talking like I'm American? Like, what now?
Like, I was thinking, and the other comment that I saw, just speaking about that insecurity, this one was on YouTube now. Some guy, it must have been, I don't know where they were, but it was 1 a.m. here. I think this is like 2 weeks into Prodigal Son being online. This guy comes and says, man, not really feeling this one. Liked conspiracy theories better. Most of these jokes, I wish I should have the screenshot somewhere. I wish, and most of these jokes sound like rip-offs of other comedians. It was the middle of the night where I was, bro.
Like, ouch, we are ouch.
It wasn't even like, it wasn't like an ouch moment, but my first thought, I was like, "Man, you are lying," because I made conspiracy theories and it's not better than Prodigal Son. Like, that was my first thought. I was like,
fact. It's no fact.
I was like, "Man, that's a lie."
That's a lie. Because that's true. I even said in the beginning, clearly it's clear difference.
Because, like, it's even if I had done Prodigal Son the day after conspiracy theories, it's still like, there is no, because the things that I was trying to do with conspiracy theories, right? I succeeded them in Prodigal Son. So you can't tell me, it's not even like a joke thing. Like, Prodigal Son is seamless, bro. There's the thing that I was trying to do, I was trying to make it difficult for anyone to pinpoint an exact moment where they say, "This is my favorite part of the show." I wanted you to enjoy the whole show. There's no, "Oh, I'm making jokes about ancestors now," or "I'm making jokes about my wives now." It's one similar story. It sounds like I'm reading a book, and it ends the way it's supposed to end. But with conspiracy theories, it's a lot of jokes put together. So you can't tell me that, like, it's not possible. But
yes,
the thing that I now took offense to is like, bro, what rip-offs, what, like, that was the part that was offensive to me. I have I have never. I have. It almost sounds offensive to me to say, to have to come out and clarify that I've never. But I was like, bro, I understand. I actually replied. I was like, bro.
You in the comments replying the US? Wow, you'd have.
Yeah. I was like, bro, I understand you saying you didn't enjoy. Fair enough. I can't argue with that. But like, which jokes? I told him the truth. I was like, bro, that is actually some hateful shit. Like, I feel hurt because I worked so hard. I wanted to be honest, but I was still laughing. I was like, bro, that hurt my feelings because I worked very hard at this show so it hurts me when you say some of these jokes sound like you've heard them before. Which jokes in particular? And he was like, oh, that ice cream story sounds like something from Cat Williams. I was like, my bro, I don't even watch Cat Williams. I don't even watch Cat, I don't even watch Cat. But regardless of me watching Cat Williams, there is a photo of me from 2018 with those girls outside Smooch. Like, I don't. If it was now, it's going back to that thing of somebody saying, coming up with jokes. That is one thing that I take comfort in knowing that at no point will anyone ever come to me and say, "Oh, that joke sounds like it was made up." I mean, the premise might be the same, but like, it's not coming from a place where I'm trying to emulate, like, because there's only a finite number of things that comedians can talk about. So the subject matter might be the same. We might be talking about bodies. We might approach it the same way, but I promise you, this is my lived experience. We might be talking about things that wives do. Maybe my wife does things that are similar to your wife, but like that's not the same as saying like that was you're copying a joke. And it was like but the thing that I really like is that I like to think that most of the people that watch or that engage, I haven't come across a comment that is malicious,
right?
Where somebody is, because all these people, right? I try to engage, try to understand. And this guy, we had a back and forth where he was trying to make me see what he meant, and he really said, bro, I'm sorry, I didn't think the first thing he said was like, bro, I didn't think you're going to see this comment. I'm like,
why write?
Why were you writing? Why were you writing? But I was like, still, he was like, man, I apologize, let me delete the comment. I was like, no, you don't have to do it. So now it's deleted. But like, I'm saying that to say insecurities are a crazy thing, right? If you go on Prodigal Son, there's a lot of people that will say like, oh man, this show is fire. But like, where am I spending my energies? Which comments am I going back and forth with people? And I mean, I still reply the positive ones. I still, thank people back. But like the ones that, you're probably in bed trying to unwind, then touring, and you're like,
yeah. What are the insecurities, if you don't mind me asking?
I think that it's just the insecurity of, like, the biggest one is definitely, as a creative, am I as good at this as I think I am? Do people see that? Do people see the effort that goes into creating this 30-second whatever? It's am I going to reach the levels that I believe I can reach, or I believe I should reach, or I believe I want to reach? Or am I just another guy that's, because there is that, like, you come across somebody who you be like, somebody who's trying just as hard as you are, but you're like, that guy is not as talented, you
right.
You like, you see somebody trying to do music or trying to paint, or then
not connecting
exactly. But then in the middle of the night, you also think, am I that guy who's also trying? Am I also that guy who Exactly. So it's that thing of, you know, there is this, and it doesn't take a lot for them to unravel. But I've created a support group, a support network that, regardless of those, I mean, you do have those moments of vulnerability, but I just try to press on, man. Like, let's see how far we can. Let's see how. And bro, like at this point, if I was to listen to those, if I was to give those insecurities any more, it would be betraying the faith and the trust that so many people have put in me. You know, it would be an injustice to the support that I've received over the years, because I mean, if this was a fluke, at some point the bubble would have burst.
Burst by now, right?
Yeah, after conspiracy theories, people will be like, yeah, one and done, he's out, and
right.
you know, but to see people coming out for Prodigal Son like that, to see that reaction, to see, like, I mean, as soon as I walk off stage, I knew I had killed the show. But like, to see people still come up, like the messages, you know, it was a different kind of feeling. And
you said
to just see,
you said something earlier about how far you want to, you have goals that you've set for yourself. And then you also, I was watching one of your interviews where you spoke about a truly Zimbabwean show. As you know, like now, being Zimbabwean is now a very massive, multifaceted term, because you're in the UK, I'm in the US, someone in Bulawayo or in her, like, when I look at my stats, there were like 44 countries. I was like, goodness me, we're everywhere. Like, we're just really spread out. So you almost, the thing I'm asking is like, how far do you think Zimbabwean stand-up can go? We have a unique story, but how far do you think it can go, and how far do you think you can carry it?
So there's two parts to that question. The first part is the how far. Bro, it's Trevor Noah or bust. Like, Trevor Noah is the benchmark at this point.
He's the benchmark, right?
It's the benchmark because it's another African child that did it.
Yeah.
You know, despite what else are we aiming for? Why are we aiming lower? You know, let's see how far we can. Let's see how far we can go. But we are not going to go far if we are taking the Zimbabwean story. The Zimbabwean story has a ceiling, bro, for different reasons. So what's going to happen is this Zimbabwean boy, right, is going to take. I don't know what story we are going to take, but it's now the narration is going to change from. We are not necessarily taking the Zimbabwean story, but we are taking the Zimbabwean boy and everything that comes with it. Because if I was to tell you that I want to take the Zimbabwean story, I would be lying, bro. And let me clarify what I mean by that. There is a connotation that comes with with being Zimbabwean, with being African, right?
Yeah.
And for the most part, when you come out in the world now, it's been used as a con against us.
Yes.
It's been used as a thing to limit us.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, I'm not going to walk around with the pressure of wanting to move the Zimbabwean story with me. Like, in me, there is no, I'm going to David Livingstone this. Like, I'm not, but the Zimbabwean story will forever reside within me. And it's going to go as far with all these things that I'm going to do, right? But what I'm striving for personally is to be the best at what I do. I don't know the pathways that this thing will take me. Right? But I know for a fact that if I was walking around saying, I want to take Zimbabwean comedy on the map. That's a different kind of pressure, bro.
It's a different pressure.
That's a different kind of pressure, because apart from it being a different kind of pressure, the people that are part of this industry are going to ask you, who gave you that mandate? Why are you speaking for me?
You called yourself king. So he said he calls himself king. Now he wants.
So it's that thing of I don't want to go around saying, like, there's that thing of saying Zimbabwean Trevor Noah. It's like, nah, bro.
I'm my own person, right?
Exactly. Zimbabwean, what like the thing I'm receptive to all the experiences that are going to come along my way, that I'm going to experience in this in trying to find my way through this journey. And I'm going to do it as an incredibly proud Zimbabwean, right? And I'm going to try raise, like right now, I'm going to try raise my country's flag in any shape or form. But what I'm not going to do is, you're not going to find me standing on a podium saying that I'm doing for selfish reasons. I'm not doing this. It's a different kind of pressure, bro. If I was to say I'm doing this for Zimbabwe, because imagine some advertising executive or some Hollywood executive, they hear you say, I'm doing this for Zimbabwe. They're like, yeah, keep that Zimbabwean boy out of So, and the people that we've seen,
because you're drawing connotations upon yourself that you had no business creating to some degree.
Exactly. So I want to win. I want to win not on the basis of me being Zimbabwean, but I want to win on the basis of me just being good. It just be, this guy, because oh, perfect, man. I found an even better way to explain this. Have you seen how it's only us, the darkies, the Africans, who have this pressure thrust upon us when it comes to these things? Like when Trevor Noah, when Dave Chappelle performs comedy, he's not the American Dave Chappelle.
It's because there are many that have come before him.
Exactly. No, but you see, regardless regardless of there being many, I want us to get to that point of there being many that come after me, but not on the basis of being Zimbabwean. Do you get what I mean? Because now, if we do that, it limits us. Zimbabwe is a country with 16 million people. If I was to just on an African level, right? If I was to do that and say, Kuti, look at if I was to champion the Zambian, imagine what a xenophobic person would do to that. Right? Imagine what a xenophobic person, like, would that allow me to perform in South Africa?
No, you want to be.
So how are we? So how do we champion the Zimbabwean story if I can't take it anywhere else beyond Zimbabwe? So what I'm saying, So what I'm saying is, let's get into. I want to get in these doors because I'm good. Because I am good at what I do. And with as many doors as I enter, with as many doors as I pass through, the many doors that I open, it's going to be that Zimbabwean story that's entering these doors. Because I have no intention of forgetting where I come from. I have no intention of stopping using those experiences that I grew up with to motivate and help me see the world the way that I do. But at the same time, I'm just mindful of it being used against me. It already does. Look at how many visas that we have to apply just to enter certain countries.
Right.
So yeah, it's just trying to enter with that mentality of let's just be great, because I know a lot of funny people from where I come from. They're definitely going like, oh, face weird. So yeah.
No, fair. Yeah, I think it's fair. Like best of class first, if I have, and then and as Zimbabwe comes with me as well. But it's better. It's better to be great first. Better to be great first.
Because it's not even a thing of it's better to be great first. These things are going to be happening at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
This thing are going to be they are going to be happening. Yeah, I'm a great Zimbabwean. Like this, it's a great, like, oh wait, where is this? He's Zimbabwean. He's Zimbabwean.
Cool.
Yeah,
Right.
They are happening at the same time. Yeah.
I feel you. I love when someone breaks through, but the worst thing is when someone breaks through and there's only one. I think sometimes there has to be one, but there should be sometimes someone's role to almost break open the door to show that it's even possible. To say, that there's a whole story where someone ran a 4-minute. They said it's impossible to run a 4-minute mile. Then once one person ran a 4-minute mile, everyone started running a 4-minute mile. If I use that same analogy, let's say for Zimbabwean comedians, I won't even say the Zimbabwean comedy scene, but for Zimbabwean comedians, it would be a shame if some people have to go through the same circuit you had to go through to get to where you are now. What do you think is needed for someone who's listening from a structural or like just from an industry perspective? What needs to be built so that at least the pathway can be a lot easier for someone who might be at Rhodes thinking of dropping out to do comedy?
Man, we actually spoke about this in one of the episodes of Propaganda, but it was just that thing of making, because art in Zimbabwe for the most part it's been treated as this thing that is only available to the people that have funds to go to private schools, or people that have, imagine treating fine art like something that should only be learned
for
in
the
a private
elite
school. Like come on. So from a structures thing, it's open up community centers, and they're already there. These community centers are already there, but right now most of them are local bars and gochi places. So open up community centers, let people play sport, let people have art classes. If it's music, percussion, why is marimba a thing that is played ghetto? But like there is these separations to art that is like, oh, mbira and dreadlocks and green for my drugs, and then guitars, cellos, violins, it's up north, like it's ridiculous, so it starts off with just pure intention of just looking at the curriculum, decentralizing these things to say, even when teachers go to training colleges, let them have options to say, I want to be a music teacher. And it's not a thing that somebody who's like, because most of the music teachers in Zimbabwe are people who went to university to study music. They come back, they go into these private schools and start teaching music. It's not from somebody went to a teachers training college to learn how to teach people music. And there's a lot of incredibly talented artists where I come from that maybe were not talented enough to pursue it commercially, or they just didn't, or something happened, or they just didn't have the drive, but they definitely can teach, but just these things are not visible to somebody in those circumstances. They don't even think of it as an option because they're not available. So I think it's definitely open up. There's so many rundown buildings in Harare. Make them comedy clubs. Because as it stands, you have to go to beg somebody with a restaurant who wants to boost up their sales, and you're like, oh, we can build a comedy night around. Can we do that? And they still have to teach you like you're bothering, like, come on a Thursday, or well, if I tell you how many people that we like, there's so many restaurants that owe me money. I was just happy to perform. But like, have you ever been in a situation where like these people have come to watch comedy, right? Like the whole joint is picked up and they're buying drinks, and these are like $9-10 drinks. Because we're doing these shows. It's up north. These are $9-10 drinks, but you are walking away from that whole experience with like $30 from a place that had 60-70 people buying food, drinking cocktails and things like that, and you just get even that. It's like, looking back now, it's like, it's sad that we had to go through that, and it's sad that to a great extent that is what is still happening.
Is there in your set, you talked about, you used the analogy of the reason why a lot of racism exists, let's say in Britain, is because British people are aware of what the power of an organized minority. So I started, when I was doing my research, I started thinking about, like, oh, it was very like profound. It was really profound. I started thinking about Australia. I started thinking about the United States. I started thinking about Zimbabwe. A lot of these areas where
it froze. It froze for a bit.
No, I was just saying in your stand-up earlier, you talked about how you touched on racism in Britain and how British people are fearful or treat people in a certain unkind way because they understand the power of an organized minority, which I found very profound. So I started thinking of the analogy between, okay, so clearly an organized group of people doesn't have to be big, very small, is very powerful. So powerful they can even take over a country and impose their will on another majority of people. Not to go down that route, but in the Zimbabwean comedy scene, if I can call it that, is there an organized group of people that are intentionally trying to commercialize this thing, or is it more of a collective who are just tinkering here and there, similar to what it's like in film?
So first off, that analogy, even I was like, that was profound. I watched it back. I was like, that was
people
brilliant.
Started clapping. I said,
that was good. But no, there is. So man, that is the thing that is heartbreaking about Zim. There is an incredible, it's actually grown up to be a scene now, but there's so many things that are fighting against it, right? So right now there is Simuka comedy. Those guys have been an incredible leg for comedy to stand on. They have set up shows. They have, the pandemic came. That whole collective was at risk of being disbanded because they couldn't set up anything. But they've stood the test of time. They have set up shows for, they actually have a festival which is going to be in its third year running this year. It's a week comedy festival where different performances. They have pushed women comedians. They have a whole roster of, and it's championed by Doc Vikela, Kadem, there's Kanyiso, and then Magamba. Through Magamba TV, it's also championing, doing what it can with comedy. The thing that now makes it difficult to see all these efforts is that things are just a mess in Zim, right? So because of the lack of disposable income in Zim, as it stands right now, there is not a civil servant who can afford to come to a comedy show. It's not possible. It's not, you are never, ever, unless you're performing that comedy at a high school or a primary school, you're never going to find a teacher or a policeman, or unless they've come to stop the show, at a comedy show. Of which the terrible thing is that is the prime audience for what we're doing. The issues that we're talking about affect them the most. The people that can afford to come to these comedy shows are people that are the offensive parties. You are going to find a lot of Zanu babies in the show. You're going to find a lot of it's. If I tell you, my biggest supporters are a lot of Zanu babies. It's a weird relationship. It's a weird, but I've come to embrace it. I don't know whether it's a kink of theirs, but I don't know what it is. I don't know whether they are using me to say the things that they want to say about their fathers. I don't know what it is, but but do you get what I mean? So it's a thing of that the comedy never really it's difficult for it to leave an imprint when it's like that, because I think as long as the current situation prevails, where coming to a comedy show or participating in some art form remains a luxury, it's difficult to just look at the numbers. Prodigal Son right now, I think it's on 16,000 views on. That's not because people don't want to watch it, but somebody's thinking 1 hour 11 minutes. Now let me just watch with the data that I have. Let me just watch a Passion Java video. It's 3 minutes.
It's quick, right?
It's quick, Quick, so even if somebody was to think of those are the things that now factor in to these, like those data costs. They make it difficult for people to consume the content. They make it difficult for you to spread your name enough to convince people to come to a comedy show. You are having to go into your pocket to make this show available to as many people as possible. If you were to go to say like, we're going to do a tour for a university student to come to a comedy show, you have to perform it at that university.
Because that's what
you have to. That's what it is. So it's those things where it's very heartbreaking, but I believe something's gotta give, man. Something's gotta give. So there's a lot of people that are doing incredible things. I just wish them strength, and I know, man, that time is coming. We just need that one. We just need that one Netflix. I don't know what it is.
I feel like we need
something.
A hit. I don't know if we haven't had a hit. Or rather, I think when it's a comedy scene of films, there needs to be one real, like a smash that believes that, wow, it's not only good content, it's financially lucrative, and that can inspire some sort of traction. Because I was speaking with there's a guy from Envision Studios called Blessing, and he said something very profound. He's like, we need to look at Zimbabwean story like an asset, or treat it like mining, just like how you treat mining like a resource. Like until we start looking at the Zimbabwean story like an asset, we'll always be stuck where we are. And if we aren't intentional at extracting all the commercial value that we can from it, we'll always be stuck where we are in the entertainment industry, which I find very profound. And my hope is that with digitization, we'll get there, because we won't do it. Because that, you know what I mean? That's because with the current status quo, I think that will not be a reality.
That's crazy, because that's episode, what is it? Episode 4? Digitization. So episode 4 of the new season of Propaganda.
Of the season 2. I'm hopeful, at least. I hope so.
I don't know whether it's going to fast track digitization or it's going to stop it completely, because we no, because, man, when is this coming out?
This, if I'm honest, it will be in the next probably 3 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks. I'm just trying to get a couple more in.
So it might actually coincide. So let me. I might as well share. Well, because we were doing research on digitization. Right. First off, let me get your thoughts on digitization, because it might end up not being as outlandish as
for sure. I think for me, a large part of what I find interesting right now is I think for the first time, Africa's, in terms of popular culture, we're hot right now. Like in a way I've never, I was walking down the street and I heard, not even Burna or Wizkid, we know there's it, but like Thames. I was like, yo, Thames is now crossing, like it's crazy to see how artists have crossed over so much. It's now normal to go to gym and then there's Afrobeats playing. So we're not trending, we're here now.
Let me, I'm excited. I don't want to derail you, but do you remember that conversation that we were talking about, that Zimbabwean story? You see, Thames, Burna Boy, what? Are they taking the Nigerian story, or they're taking it because they're dope, and then it becomes the Nigerian story?
They made great product. They made great product, and then it touched through. Correct. They found
exactly. So, but
at the highest caliber.
Yeah.
And they,
but it's the Nigerian story that is being what?
It's so infused in the music.
Exactly. But Wizkid and Burna went walking around saying, "Oh, we are Nigerian artists," and do you think if the Nigerian was prevalent, Justin Bieber would, considering, because my point in that is the Nigerian story comes with all these undesirables, like at the time. At the time, very much like the Zimbabwean story, it's like the Nigerians. If you're pushing the Nigerian agenda, it now comes with SARS. Your police are being brutal. So if we focus on being dope and you are also Nigerian, it's going to they do their. But I'm sorry to. I just saw another moment. Yeah.
No, but it's very similar. I've seen how Nigerians crossed over. I said it's undeniable how they grow south out of Korean. You can't deny it. And we even felt it in Zim, so that, and then we're seeing what's happening now with, let's say, Amapiano, and when you hear it's undeniable. You even in the UK, I remember South African pop culture black culture wasn't big in 2014. Now, Amapiano now in the UK. This is like it's so now incredible. I'm seeing how it's over. I'm saying, okay, so, and then that South African, I think Kenya will probably be next. And a lot of big brands, digital brands, so I'm maybe bring it back. Netflix, Amazon Studio. I think there's going to be a lot of desire around distinct and a distinct African flavor. And what I've seen is that in the West, they love culture. If there's a different flavor that's good quality, they'll pay for it. My hope is that Zimbabwe finds its version of Amapiano or Afrobeats, not necessarily in the music, but in culture, that can commercialize, package it, and then send it across, and then can pave a way for the creative industry. That's what I'm hoping. That's my take on it. So I'm bullish, but I think we haven't found our X factor yet. Not quite yet.
No, I'm with you 100%. Where my worry is, like the point that you had brought up, like with the hopes and with the digitization. I don't know how much you know about the progress that they have made, like the Zimbabwean government. Digitization is something that has been spoken about from like before Grace Mugabe was a comrade, and now she's a former comrade, and nothing has happened. But my point being, we're doing this research about digitization and trying to find out what the progress is being made, what the kinks is, and it was days and days of us going around trying to pinpoint like for me personally, what the issue was, because I couldn't. I have those moments where I know what it hasn't illuminated in my head, but I know there's something. Like we had all this research about. I thought the story we were doing was just about digitization. What's the progress? Why hasn't it? And then I realized that the reason why digitization, for us, the people that are coming up with these conspiracy theories, there's almost an intentional effort from the powers that be to stall digitization for as long as it they possibly can, because digitization to them means diversity.
The different, you can't control, lack of control.
And diverse means different. As it stands, it's in their best interest to have one voice, one story. Because when you look back at the evidence of all the numbers that have been brought up to justify why digitalization is not happening. Oh, there's a 70 million missing here. Oh, there's 7 million here. Oh, we found 300. The figures don't make sense. Like since 2014 alone, there's been a lot of different figures that have been come up. But like we're talking about people that buy cars willy-nilly, that bought private. Like it's not an issue of like if they wanted it to happen, it would have happened.
It would have happened.
Like the money that like, and you know the crazy thing is none of the figures that have been brought up are scary figures. Like at the very most, the figure that was brought up was 70 million. Like that's the highest figure that has come up. That is the highest figure. And we're talking about people that have raised war chests for campaign funds up to 300 million. We're talking about people that have missed at least 3 deadlines since 2013, regional deadlines where SADC has said, oh, let's digitize as a region to avoid regional isolation. They missed that. 2015, they missed that. Now you look at even the stations that have been given these licenses, right? All of them in some shape or form are owned by somebody who's linked to the powers that be. But even those powers that be, there's only one that is launched so far. And this is 2 years after the awarding of these licenses. Now goes back to how the figures, it costs just to apply for a license, just to apply, it's 2,500. And for the second stage, it's 7,500, which means that's 10,000 that is non-refundable, right? Who's going to come up with 10,000 that is non-refundable to apply for something?
To apply just in case, right.
But the crazier thing about these application fees is that in the Broadcasting Act, the government doesn't allow any direct foreign investment of more than 20%. And the reason why that is very curious is which Zimbabwean, other than the people that are involved with the powers that be, are going to have money to put towards this venture that they don't know whether it's going to happen. You definitely need foreign investment. You definitely need somebody who's made their money out in the world and is like, oh, I would like to enter this market. But if the limit is only 20%, how many people can like, and how much money is that? It doesn't make sense. So it's these things where you look at it and you're like, when after all was said and done with the research, it's a very depressing reality, where you're like, we are going to have to find cheat codes to jumpstart this, like the things that you were speaking about, because right now the sounds we have incredible things that are happening in Zim, bro. That, like, in terms of hits, like I don't know, do you remember Wadiwe Pamoyo?
What?
The first season.
The first season,
bro. The first season.
I binge watched it.
Imagine if those kids had 15,000 to start. Imagine if those kids had 15,000 to start.
I worry because I'm seeing the donations donate here. I said, goodness me, once we're doing donations now, it feels like a ship is just sinking because we aren't commercializing this thing. And then it would be
exactly. So it's those pockets of we have so many incredible personalities. People are just ready to be plucked and placed in these incredible positions, but it will never happen because entering into that space as an investor, because the headache that Netflix got from South Africa with regards to when South Africa wanted to protect DSTV and whatever is worth it. right? Because they know in the long run, I mean, things will work out. It's a market of plus 60 million people.
Right?
Netflix is not going to take that kind of chance for 14 million people. It can't. It can't. But because to enter, they know they're going to have to deal with on a government level. There's no infrastructure. There's no digital like the network. Look at, do you know in South Africa, TikTok users, they get paid. They get royalties from we. It's just there's one border between Zimbabwe and South Africa, but Zimbabwean TikToks, you're just doing it for likes. You're just doing it for likes and views. And if somebody goes viral in South Africa, the next week they are on a Savannah ad, or they're in Nando's, or you know. So it's those things where I'm like, I'm really hopeful. I'm just a very hopeful person, but it's going to be up to us to reverse engineer what we, this situation, because it's definitely like the powers that be. We are not part of, we are not there. When they talk about Vision 2020, we are not included in that. So yeah, man.
I wanted to have a conversation, maybe just to end off, I wanted to have this conversation specifically to touch. I think it's good to touch on problems and then potential solutions so that people can hear like, wow, I can see what it is. I can see it's part of bringing change is firstly knowing what the problem is, and that's a very powerful thing. When this conversation is able to identify the problem, that's great. The hope, I was speaking with some other day, though, like now we're in our 30s, is before would be like would point fingers and say those. Now it's you and I in the thing. I often feel very almost like, oh geez, now what are we saying? You can't blame your parents' generation forever.
No, now, you can't.
You know what I mean? Now it's you. So I hope someone listening to this will, be inspired with solutions. At least I've learned a lot from this conversation, just hearing the state of affairs. My last question for you would be, what does the shift in the Zimbabwe narrative look like for you for the better?
Bro, it starts with registering to vote. For me, it starts there. It starts with registering to vote. It starts it continues with showing up to vote, showing up to the ballot. I don't care who you vote for, but it's absolutely. I'm not talking to anyone who's not participating in that in some shape, way, or form. I know there's people that might not be physically able to go vote, but like the thing that I'm big on, right? I'm big on intention, right? I'm big on people. I'm big on people doing what they say they are doing. I mean, we are all humans. We all have our failings, but I really don't enjoy people that are now treating politics as a come up. People that treat people's struggles as a come up. And there's a lot of that, especially if you're looking at Zim right now. There's a lot of charlatans that are going to pop up in this lead up to the 2023 elections. We are going to see that, people that are just going, doing lip service, and sometimes you can see through them. Sometimes you can't see. It's very difficult. But what I would say for us, don't look at what has happened before. What has happened before is very discouraging, but it shouldn't be used as a basis for, oh, I'm not going to participate, or I'm not going to, because if you don't participate, then what? Because we are certainly guaranteed to continue having the same problems. So we owe it to each other to at least try. We owe it to each other to at least try. But apart from registering to vote, man, I just want people to be kind to one another, man. Life is already difficult as is. Life is already difficult as is. Like it's just be kind, and by that, I mean just even it's a high pressure time right now. You know, you have party X, you have party X. You feel like your party is not doing enough, or your party is losing. You want to lash out on social media. You want to you know, it's I think people are already going through a lot. So, but absolutely, bro, absolutely registering to vote, man. If I had clothes, I would, like register, I would wear them. But that's my thing this year until 2023. People just need to participate in that. Let's see what happens when we all show up.
Yeah. Thanks for your time, sir. It's been good chatting.
Thank you for having me. This has been an incredible conversation. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Nokushaka